Sperax is a software development company that builds open source DeFi software, and we deploy that software onto public blockchains. So we're currently deployed onto Arbitrum, a layer 2 optimistic rollup on top of Ethereum. And we went on mainnet in mid-January of this year. And since launching, we've had some pretty exceptional growth, averaging around 20% growth per week when it comes to USDS growth, the stablecoin. So as everyone knows, USDS is a hybrid stablecoin that uses explicit collateral to generate passive income for holders. So you get to hold on to USDS and generate passive yield without having to stake or claim. So we've launched a couple different yield farms, and you can go capture up to 30% on stablecoins through the Sperax farms on Uniswap, or you can capture even more yield by depositing over on the saddle farms. So all yield generating opportunities can be found right on app.sperax.io. So that is a brief introduction to the project, as I think everyone here is familiar with. But maybe we can start off by giving a brief update as to what VESPA is and the amount of deposits that we received in the first week. Maybe Nico, you could introduce that.
Yeah, for sure. So VSPA is the staked form of SPA, the governance token of Sperax. VSPA holders at the moment receive yield generated from 3 different sources. Specifically, the yield comes from new foundation emissions, which has been fixed at 20 million SPA per year, as well as SPA buybacks from the open market with 50% of the USDS yield, as well as all the minting and redeeming fees. Within the first week, we got almost 30 million SPA locked within the protocol for an average lockup period of about 3.5 years. And today we had the first yield distribution event, so SPA stakers received their yield for the very first time. The average APY at the moment is 480% per year. It's a pretty high APY because the participation is still a bit low. We expect that number to reduce in the following weeks. From that number, about 1/4 to 1/5 of that comes from buybacks, and the rest comes from foundation emissions. As the USDS protocol grows, the share of API that will be coming from buybacks will increase. A really interesting phenomenon we noticed this week is that the SPA buybacks actually helped to defend the SPA price. They got triggered when SPA price was at the lowest, and they created the price floor for SPA, and they generously rewarded SPA stakers with all the amount of SPA that was purchased from the open market and given back as a return. So to conclude, the numbers on average is about 500% APY. If you log for a short period of time, like 0 to 6 months, then the APY is a bit shy than 9%. If you log for 6 months to a year, you can get an APY of about 70%. For 2 years, the APY is about 182%, and 3 years for 60%. And finally, for the SPA hodlers, if you decide to lock your SPA for 4 years, at the moment you can get something close to 800% APY.
Did you say 800% APY, Nico?
For 4 years. I expect that number to go to get reduced. So participation is still not at its highest. We expect that staked SPA will significantly increase in the next few weeks. But yes, the lucky few who got in early got rewarded generously.
Did you hear that, DGens? Lock for 4 years, get 800% APY. Obviously, that'll go down, but wow. Beautiful incentive for those early users and long-term holders. All right, thank you, Nico. And Ray, thank you for joining. Joey or Ray, do you want to add any updates when it comes to the engineering side of things? If not, we can go into the AMA questions.
Maybe just one note, if people not already know. So basically, if you stake in week, say X, then your staking will be recorded into the protocol in the beginning of week X+1. and you can start claiming your rewards at the beginning of week X plus 2. And you accumulate the first week that you accumulate your reward is week X plus 1. So just just want to clear the things if people not already know about it.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, without further ado, let's do some questions. We have a lot, but we will be ending this AMA in about 15 minutes because we have a really packed end of the week. So we'll try to hit all of them. The first question is by MAD, and he's curious around, is there a way to convert USDT or other stable coins from other blockchains to USDS in order to participate in yield farming? I'll answer that real fast. If you have another stable coin, you can always just swap for USDS on Arbitrum. You don't have to go through the minting process. You could always just swap. And then when it comes to getting your USDC or USDT from something like Avalanche or Polygon, you could use one of many bridges like Synapse or dBridge, get your capital over to Arbitrum, and then you can just do a simple swap to USDS. Next question by Jimmy Boss. SPA and USDS have great potential. Thank you. Global exchanges are targeting Turkish investors. When will you start targeting Turkish market through marketing? We are working on prioritizing various different languages for educational content. So if you would like to assist in helping with Turkish content, please reach out because we can work on a bounty to get that. So we're working on prioritizing a whole group of different language contents and communities. Sperax recently announced integration into Transact's on-ramp directly into the Sperax dApp. So will Sperax support third parties of Transact integrated Sperax assets as well? I think that's asking if other applications will have the opportunity to purchase Sperax assets through Transact, and the answer is yes. Okay, by Spy Pro, what kind of average for the lockup time on the stake dashboard is being displayed? Simple average or some sort of weighted average?
Sorry, Alec, can you repeat the question? I think I missed it.
On the front end, there is a average lockup time on the staking dashboard. Are we using a simple average or a weighted average?
I can take this one. Actually, these two will be the same. Basically, because remember when you mint VSPA or when you stake your SPA, right? The number of VSPA you get is the number of years you stake times the number of SPA you stake, right? So say you stake 1,000 SPA for 2 years, then it would be 1,000 times 2 becomes 2,000 VSPA, right? So we just do the reverse of the calculation when we try to calculate out the lockup period. So we divide the VSPA total balance by the total amount of SPA stake. Then we get the average number of years people stake their SPA.
Cool, thank you. The next question is from 2K Minerva. Is VESPA staking a permanent feature in the Sperax ecosystem? Or after the 4 years, will we not... it's worded interesting. Or after the 4 years, is it done leaving the space for something new or the chance to restake? So basically, are we going to have a program after the 4-year program to allow for these rewards to continue in some capacity? I mean, at very least, the protocol fees.
We will ensure that staking stays lucrative for more than 4 years. I expect USDS buybacks will drive most of the action. If USDS grows, to a similar size than other stablecoin players, then the collateral being redeployed to generate yield will be a really, really strong force to generate high yield for SPA stakers.
Thank you. There's a question about CPI, but I'm a little bit confused as to what the exact question is.
What's that question?
I think the actual question at the end of it is: do we consider using some sort of gold pegged asset as collateral for USDS in the future?
Wow. Okay, Nico, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I don't think that gold has any fundamental benefits when it comes to it being a reserve assets rather than tradition. I personally don't have strong support, for such an asset. Effectively, it doesn't even have a fixed supply, and the price of gold can fluctuate, based on factors that have nothing to do with inflation. If we wanted to add a reserve asset, I would be much more interested in adding Bitcoin or Ethereum as a collateral rather than an asset pegged to gold. Of course, spot takers will be able to vote on whatever they wish. So if the majority of the VSPAR holders want a gold-pegged asset like Paxos Gold, for instance, or Tether Gold, this could definitely be an option. Although I think the liquidity for such assets is relatively limited at the moment.
Thank you. The next question is around it's around VEFXS, but the final question is actually not pertaining to it. So I'll just stick with the final question. Are we going to make any experience similar to the Anchor protocol?
This has been asked by a couple of users. We plan to make a nice front-end page where people will be able to see exactly how much yield they receive by holding USDS. On top of that, we will soon be launching savings products that will be swapping the USDS yield for other assets. So effectively, this 11% yield will be able to be denominated on whatever currency the end user wants. So if, for instance, the end user wants to be farming Ethereum, then they could park their stablecoin with us and get 11% returns on Ethereum every year. That's just one of the many examples we will be adding. So yeah, we will be creating the front end as well as the option to receive yield on other currencies.
Thank you. So the next question is around asking what our strategic participation in Arbitrary Odyssey was for. And, we're just big supporters of Arbitrum and the growing ecosystem generally. We elected to have our first stability mechanism and collateral pool on Arbitrum. We thought it was a very flourishing DeFi-centric community, very passionate about censorship resistance and decentralization properties. And Arbitrary Odyssey was their first big kind of go-to-market campaign showing off the DeFi ecosystem. So, of course, we wanted to be a part of it. And we got paired up with a pretty challenging competitor, being Buybacks. So we may or may not win the final vote. But this question is saying, what would we do next in the event that we don't win the vote in order to continue to contribute to the development of the Arbitrum environment? So I can briefly talk about it at a high level, and then I would love for Nico to introduce one of our new incentive mechanisms that we're going to be testing on Arbitrum. We're actually the first project to ever do such a mechanism, so we're really excited to unveil it first to the Arbitrum community. But high level, like I mentioned, we've already began to attract significant liquidity to this ecosystem. We care deeply about it. So one of the key objectives of Arbitrum Odyssey is to bring capital from layer 1 to layer 2, and that's going to happen over the next 2 weeks. But we've already been running campaigns. We've already attracted $35 million into the saddle pool. We've already attracted $25 million worth of mints and $23 million worth of liquidity into Curve. So we're going to continue to do this. And we won't stop contributing that type of capital to see Arbitrum grow. And we want to be a foundational player in the growth of Arbitrum and be the most liquid stablecoin in the ecosystem. So that's what we've done in kind of a alluding to what we're doing in the future, but maybe Nico, you could briefly introduce the new incentive program we're going to first test on Arbitrum.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the main problems that that many projects have is that for them to incentivize liquidity, they have to rent it with emissions. So effectively, the deeper liquidity you want to have, the higher the emissions you have to emit, therefore the more selling pressure for your governance token. We care deeply, as Alex said, about liquidity, but we wanted to find a more sustainable way to achieve it, a way that, if anything, will make SPA more scarce rather than leading to SPA inflation. So we came up with the idea of introducing a bond program. Effectively, what that would do is it would allow users to mint USDs at a discount. They would deposit all of the collateral required, and Sperax Foundation would subsidize the SPA component needed for the mint from their own reserves. So there's going to be a budget. We're going to be announcing when the program will be live, and it's going to be first come, first served. So users will be able to mint USDs at a discount, but for us to give them that option, they will have to lock their USDs for a fixed period of time to generate liquidity, to create LP tokens out of it. So effectively, the higher the lockup period of USDs, the more discount we will be giving. The cheaper is going to be to mint USDs at the moment. That plus all the LP fees, we think is going to make for a really, really high APY product that, if anything, will lead to significantly SPA deflation. It will burn a lot of SPA from the Sperax Foundation rather than increasing the circulating supply of SPA, while significantly increasing liquidity within the Sperax ecosystem.
Welcome to the world of internet bonds. Thank you, Nico. So we'll give you more information about that in the coming weeks. But yeah, we're deeply committed to Arbitrum. So even if we don't win this Odyssey vote, we're not going to bail on the Arbitrum ecosystem. Of course not. Okay, here's a great question. So, with CRV and VE CRV, there is an application on top of it called Convex that allows for both boosted yields and for outsourcing votes and bribing of votes. And basically, it's a voting protocol on top of the VE CRV model. So is that something that we're considering with Vespa? And is it even technically possible?
It's definitely interesting, but we don't have the gauge feature yet. So at the moment, VSPA holders do not yet control where new SPA is going to be emitted. So without that, the idea of creating a convex-like product doesn't make that much sense. We're also pretty small still. It would be an interesting synergy to create such an optimizer. But for us to achieve that, we would need to grow a little bit bigger and also introduce the gauge feature, which I'm confident that both of those things will happen in the near future. It will just take a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so this next question has to do with extending a lockup. So this user has locked up VE-SPA for a year, and he wants to add to that lockup time, and he's curious, how does that work with the restarting? Does it affect the lockup period?
There can be a single lockup period per account. You can only extend the lockup period. You cannot shorten it. So if a user decides to extend his lockup period on that account, then his VSPA balance will change for all the SPA. So you cannot have multiple lockup periods in a single account. If a user wants to have multiple lockup periods, they will have to use separate wallets. If they don't do that, there's going to be a single lockup period within each wallet, and it can only be extended rather than shortened.
Cool, thank you. This is a great question. So can someone explain a little more about what the rebase is all about? This user says that this is a term that he associates with hyperinflation type protocols.
I can most definitely give that a shot. So when we talk about rebase in the context of USDS, it's actually a pretty unorthodox term. We don't change the circulating supply of USDS. So whenever a rebase event is getting triggered, the circulating supply of USDS actually stays fixed. We use rebase as a way to pass the yield in a gasless manner. Specifically, how that happens is that the protocol generates yield. it uses that yield to buy back USDS tokens from the open market. And then the amount of USDS tokens that have been bought up from the open market is being burned and rebased to the end user. So effectively, the circulating supply does not change whatsoever, but the USDs we bought from the open market are being given proportionally to all the users, proportional to their holdings of USDs. That's how that works.
All right, thank you. So let me, I'm skipping that question. Can you explain?
Hello.
Alec, I think someone want to ask a question. Just bring him to the stage.
Hello.
Yeah, shoot.
How are you? How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I just tuned in now and I saw that this I got the update concerning this project this hammer. So my question is very simple. Concerning your project, have you have any audit? Have you already signed any audit concerning security on your project?
Yeah, I can take this one. We have 3 audit companies: Slow Mist, 30K, PackShell, and also we QuantStem. We are talking with QuantStem. They will do a another round of auditing our USDs. We just want to make sure everything is correct. So no need to worry. We have lots of auditing going on. Yep.
Okay, yeah. My second question is that is there any minimum and with maximum investment which investor can put into this project?
There are no fixed numbers. You can purchase SPA tokens from decentralized exchanges like Uniswap or from centralized exchanges like Huobi and FTX or Gate. There are no fixed numbers. You can buy or sell as many tokens as you wish.
Okay. Yeah, the last question is concerning community. How are you planning to build more to bring more people globally? Because you know, the more you bring more people to this project, the more the project is well known globally. So what are your plans concerning this?
One
Hi,
moment.
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you mute yourself real fast while we answer that question?
Okay. Hi.
Thank you. Yeah, so I can first speak to when it comes to like global USDS adoption, it's a very complicated question because there's many different ways that you can approach that question. So first off, from like an accessibility standpoint, what we're doing is building USDS to be censorship resistant at a protocol level. So this, prohibits large regulators from stopping our operations because at the foundational level, we're just open source code. And then when it comes to accessing the actual product through various different venues, we're attacking the problem from a business development front. So we do that in a couple different ways. First off, we have a partnership with Transact. So any non-OFAC blacklisted country now will have the ability to purchase Sperax assets directly with a bank account or a credit card. So that's one way that we're trying to appeal to this global audience. And two, we have a whole team working on exchange listings. So we need to make USDS censorship resistant at the foundation, but then allow for anyone all over the world to use their favorite exchange to buy it. So that's how we're trying to make it accessible for users all over the world. And then the third and the final phase of that process is, once we feel that it's very liquid and it could actually satisfy the demand, we'll begin doing a global marketing push around SPA and USDS. But in order to do that marketing push, we first need to be liquid enough to satisfy the demand. So we're just wrapping up the liquidity phase, and now we're transitioning to a global growth phase. And we would love to hear ideas and work with local community members to better educate their communities on the benefits of USDS. And we could even work out ways to create educational content and give grants to various communities to begin integrating USDS and using it as a savings product. I'm happy to take the next question or answer any follow-up ones.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want to ask regarding the boomerang effect I read on your Twitter. I couldn't understand it very well, where you stated that if the price of SPA goes down, the staking reward goes up. Now, since the reward will be in SPA token, yes, with more SPA being distributed.
That's not quite accurate. Just to correct you, the rewards, although they are in SPA tokens, a big part of the rewards will be coming from buybacks. A big part of the rewards will be coming from buybacks. Effectively, USDS generates yield. That yield is in the form of USDS. It also generates revenue. That revenue is in the form of USDS. So we're using all of that money to buy back SPA from the open market. So the lower the price of SPA, the more SPA are being bought for a given amount of revenue. Therefore, staking returns are counter-cyclical. Whenever the price of SPA drops, the same amount of revenue will actually lead to a higher APY because more SPA will be bought up from the open market. That's the idea.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just want to clarify it. Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. And any other questions, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, the next question is, when will SPA be listed on Binance? Soon, TM, TBD. I can shed some light. We're in conversation with them. It's a long process. We go through many different interviews, and we're in a later stage of the interviewing process, but it does not guarantee we'll be listed. But the conversations are positive, is what I would say. Okay, so this question is, when will SPA and USDS integrate with other chains besides Arbitrum? What are your plans for that?
Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks, Alec. We definitely want to be on multi-chain. That we feel like is going to create the availability and accessibility to users, so that they can access, they can buy USDS and from any chain that they prefer. So it's coming. It's definitely on our roadmap. We are working through different options. We're exploring the different partners that we can work with, and also honing down on the architecture. That's all I can really share for right now, but it'll be coming soon. That's it.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, we're going to take a couple more here. I think we're 10 minutes over the time, so if anyone needs to drop, feel free. I'm going to go through a couple more questions here.
Yeah, I'm here again. This question is concerning what is happening right now globally around the blockchain, which is NFT. So do you have any plan in building your own NFT for the investors?
Yeah, we'll be using some NFT in more of like a marketing standpoint right now. I mean, we may have some. Oh, go ahead,
In
Nico.
theory, we use an NFT. Uniswap V3 positions are an NFT. So the way we source liquidity for USDS is via an NFT, not the standard NFT, not what people associate with art, but we actually heavily use non-fungible tokens in the form of the LP tokens that support our liquidity on Uniswap. Yeah, that's the only use of NFTs at the moment in the Sperax protocol. And they're not art NFTs, just one way to say non-fungible tokens.
Thank you.
Maybe one point to add on is we are one of the first project to do liquidity mining on Uniswap v3, and Uniswap v3 use NFT as your LP token. So we did a lot of like research, investigation on how NFT work with liquidity mining. So we are pretty aware of the whole NFT thing. And as Alex says, we have also some plan on the NFT field, right?
Yep, absolutely. We definitely have like this marketing edge too. So more on like the less economic side of things, more on like the art side of things. We're going to have a lot of cool community benefits when it comes to NFTs. So if you're like an OG in the Sperax space, you're going to get some pretty dope NFTs when it comes to like our new mascot that we're going to be dropping soon, and just a bunch of Spartan related memes, GIFs, and some NFTs are going to be wrapped in there. So, you know, the more that you kind of do on-chain interactions with Sperax, you could maybe consider your opportunity to win those things a little bit higher. So we'll be continuing to release data about that as well. Okay, next question. Here's one about the collateralization. So, you know, it's just this general concept of if we're going to be accepting volatile collateral like Ether or Bitcoin, how might the protocol withstand a significant downturn in market conditions?
I can answer this question. So the idea is that at any given point in time, the protocol has a collateral target. Effectively, you know, let's say at the moment it's 91.5%. If for whatever reason the price of one of the collaterals drops, then the protocol suddenly is aware that its collateral rate, the collateral rate of USDs, is less than the target. Then there are two different things that are being activated at the same time. When users mint new USDs, they will have to put upfront more capital and less SPA. And when users redeem USDs, they will receive a little bit more SPA and less collateral. So effectively, as more minting and redeeming happens, the protocol will eventually reach its collateral target. We're testing that mechanism now with more stable assets, but we're pretty confident that it can withstand significant volatility as well, at the cost of some SPA dilution in case of a severe market downturn, but the downside will be limited.
Thank you. This is going to be the last AMA question in text. So if you want to raise your hand and ask one, feel free. But this will be the last one from the AMA questions. So will
yeah,
VE?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, just want to ask Nico. Do we have the like APY data for the V spot?
We did. I shared them in the beginning of the call.
Oh,
sorry.
everyone.
Yeah.
I missed that part. Sorry.
No worries.
Yep.
Okay, so you know, can VESPA holders submit a proposal and participate in governance in the project? What kind of decisions can those stakers vote on?
Yes, governance is not out yet, but as soon as governance is out, users will be able to vote on various interesting things, such as what type of collateral Sperax is going to accept, what type of collateral deployment strategy we will be utilizing, as well as future emissions of SPA tokens or USD script.
Cool. I think those are all of the questions.
Yeah.
So if, yep. Do you have another question, sir?
I think
it's time for us to wrap up. We went a little bit over the expected time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Can you guys pick one question that you would like to pick as your favorite question from the session?
I'll choose the Rebase one.
Okay, Rebase. And you, Nico?
I'll choose the question about how the system would react if the price of collateral was to drop, like on the question of how we're going to incorporate volatile collateral in the protocol.
Got it. Okay, I'll pick the third. What's one around the staking APY?
That's probably. Do you want to pick me?
I can't pick you, Joe. I'll do the one around the CVX question around building another layer on top of VESPA. I thought that was really cool. So I'll post the 3 winners in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you to our team for taking time and joining and answering everyone's questions today. So thank you, Joey and Nicolas. Claps.
Thank you,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot, guys.
Bye.
Have a great day.